What's up, Instagram? Hey guys, we've got Instagram coming in. Welcome to Bowtech Live. This is Tech Talk Thursday. As you can see, this guy is not Rod Dogs. Unfortunately, Rod is sick today, so went back looking for him this morning to check in on him, and he was gone. But back by popular demand is Jeremiah Bullfrog Winstead.
Happy to be here.
So
you bet.
It's great having you back. I was just telling Nolan the other day, we're about due to bring you back in here.
Right. Good deal.
Everybody likes seeing Rod, but sometimes. But,
Rod's
we can't.
He's a captivating character.
We can't forget about you.
I appreciate that.
So that's cool, and you got to respect the guys with the red hair. So.
That's right.
But so those of you that are joining us, we've had all this great Bowtech Live stuff going for weeks. I mean, really for the last year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had an opportunity to follow us along over the last few weeks, we've had a lot of great live in the field content, especially from our own chef Jonathan Collins, the outdoor chef. He's actually out right now with Jeremy Starks from Whitetail 101 and that whole crew. They're out there doing a ton of turkey hunting. He's been turkey hunting in the weeks prior to this too. So,
yep.
We have an opportunity for you to get in there and watch all this great live content. So every time this stuff that we go live, we actually go to our Bowtech Live site as well, so where you can go back in and watch all these great live events. So right now we have a great event going too. You can go in and take a turkey poll to see how good you are at turkey hunting,
mm-hmm.
and how much you've been paying attention. So here's a good look at our page right now and where you can go in and take that poll. And I'll show you right where it's at. So there's our Bowtech Live page. So we have all this great content on there. We have Randy Newberg in there. We have Jeremy Starks and Whitetail 101. We've got Nate Zielinski with Big Game Hunting. All these guys are a wealth of knowledge. We have the Tech Talk. We have Jeremiah here today. But as you can see right there in the middle of the page, we have a great opportunity for you to take a poll and enter to win. So you just answer those questions and you actually get a chance to win a bow of your choice.
Nice. Very nice.
And down there at the bottom, if you've missed any of the episodes, you can hop in there and watch any of them, get caught back up. But the big thing is that we're going to give you an opportunity to make sure you know when you go live, especially with all this great content. It's super easy. All you need to do is text turkey to 77453. So normally I say, text watch or Bowtech Live to 77453, but we're going to make it even easier for you here. So what you're going to do is you're going to text turkey to 77453. You'll get a notification on your phone when Chef is live out there in the field with Jeremy Starks. You can get in there. I think the other night he was doing field dressing. He had shot a turkey.
I watched that. Yeah, that
live
was great.
Field dressing.
Yeah.
When you get an opportunity to watch that in real time.
Right. Right.
He shot a bird this morning. I don't know if you.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that.
I was up and drinking my coffee, and I got a text on my phone, and they said he had killed a bird. It was hanging already. So
nice.
It was pretty good. Well, welcome again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great to have you back in there. So
you
those
bet.
of you who are watching Instagram and on Facebook, get your questions in. I have a plethora of computers going here right now, so we can monitor your questions and make sure we get all those answered for you. I'm going to hop over here to Facebook and make sure Facebook's going. Are we live? Are we live on Facebook? Yes, we are. We are live on Facebook. I'm going to start this up and make sure. Sometimes I start this and my sound kicks in. We're good, Jeremiah. We're good. So Dan Howard's back in, brother. Did you get your hat? Hopefully, I see that. You got your hat. So he won Rod's hat.
Oh, nice.
For answering questions. Dan Howard is a wealth of knowledge. We did some cool questions as far as, how well do you know Bowtech? And he actually answered one of the old... I believe he answered the Samson question, the bowman on the side of the hat.
Okay,
so, get your questions in, guys. I'm watching here on Instagram as well. Let me make sure. Are we live on Instagram? Looks like we still are on there. I'm going to hop back. Let's reload here. That's what I need to do. Ah, there we go. Bowtech is live on Instagram. Make sure we're turned down. All right. So anything new been going in the shop? I know you've been working hard. Every time I come out there, you are packed and busy.
Just busy. You got your turkey code for the for the deal there, and it's 'tis the season, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
we got all the turkey season going full swing,
Right.
and a lot of people out there hunting the gobblers. So
Right.
so it's been busy.
You've got I think you still have the 3D league going out there. I know
3D league just finished up.
Okay.
We did our indoor 3D league. Have had an awesome turnout for that all year.
Excellent.
So that's been great. And here coming up in a little bit, we'll do our outdoor 3D
Sure.
league and keep it rolling and
Right.
get people to fine tune the hunting skills before season. So
And you have a lot of stuff going on out there. I mean, we do all that. You have the fitness, I think. Courtney and Steven come in on Sundays,
Yep.
I think, and do
yep.
their fitness.
They've done some the Bowtech fitness
Yep.
deal. That's been great. That's
Sure.
also got a good turnout each time we do it.
Shout out to Courtney and Steven. Those of you that are here in the Oregon area, make sure you get out here on Sundays and check them out. It's a pretty good event. I'm too lazy to attend. I need to get out there and do that. But
No, it's been good. We actually have a Woman's Day coming up this Saturday,
Okay.
so staying active out
Yep.
there for sure. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been good.
I love it. I love it with the interaction here in the local area. So
Absolutely.
It's awesome stuff. So let's ask you a couple questions out of the gate. I know we have a lot of good ones in here. So you get pinged a lot in the shop. You see pretty much everything under the sun that comes in. Or I've walked out a couple times and seen bows that people have blown up and run over or
Right.
just neglect. So we get a lot of good questions in here. So here's a good question from Tommy, is asking, why does my Realm hold better on the back wall in performance setting versus the comfort setting at the same draw weight?
That's a good question,
Yeah.
and I personally enjoy shooting it that way as well. It's not a lot of people think it's holding weight.
Right.
The holding weight itself stays relatively the same from
Okay.
comfort to performance. So what we see more of is when you don't have as long of a valley on that back end, it's going to make you subconsciously, you're going to pull a little harder into that
Okay.
wall. And so when you do that, more tension you have, forward hand and backhand, kind of that whole push-pull theory, the more tension you have there, naturally it helps that steady up. Now, a lot of people can't do that repetitively for as long of a time,
True.
which is where that comfort setting can still come in handy. But for a lot of guys shooting strictly target stuff, shooting a little bit lower poundages, going on the performance setting, and having that little bit of extra tension there, it definitely can help that pin not move quite as much.
That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. Matthew Moore, he's looking for new broadheads. If his bow is tuned well enough, will fixed blade broadheads fly like field points? Or will I constantly need to tune my bow to the field tips or broadheads as I change between them throughout the year? Why or why not? Man, he's got a lot going on in that
So
question.
there is a lot there, and it's the question really comes down to what bow you're shooting.
True.
That does matter. If you're not shooting a overdrive binary type of system, then typically you're going to have to go to the rest, and you're going to be doing a French tuning, walk back tuning, whatever you want to call it, to get those broadheads to fly the same.
You got to do a lot of tuning to get them to fly right. Yeah.
You know, if you're shooting a good quality broadhead and you're shooting it out of a overdrive type of a system, then with us being able to yoke tune top and bottom.
Right, that's a good point. I was just going to ask you that. You mentioned overdrive. Where does the overdrive come into play? And I think that's where you're going.
Right.
Versus needing to move your rest all over.
Sure,
the place.
sure. So the overdrive, simply because we have a top and bottom cams are the same. So what we have on the top, yoke-wise, we have the same thing on the bottom. So we're able to tune that bow specifically to the shooter.
Right.
We actually had a gentleman walk in this morning, right before I came in here, that was talking about how his broadheads were shooting a couple inches to the right.
Okay.
Well, we go over to the paper, and he has slightly a little bit of a tail left tear, fix his tail left tear, and as we've seen last year, he'll be able to go right back out. He was shooting a good quality broadhead, and he'll shoot his broadheads, and they'll be fine and track straight at distance. So, so a lot of it does come down to the bow. If you're not shooting that type of system, it is something that you may have to play with your rest. Arrow spine comes into it. There's a lot of variables that go into that. But ultimately, the more tunability and tune-friendly your bow is, the better off you're going to be when it comes to switching back and forth from broadheads to field points. And of course, that's all of our goals, to get those things hitting the same spot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you mentioned arrow spine. So Mitch Lutz, I probably butchered, I think it's Lutz. What is the proper, okay, Mr. Wizard, here, you your crystal ball on. You're good at this, though. What's the proper arrow spline for a Rain 7, 31-inch draw length with a 100-grain broadhead?
So you're going to want to be, so there again, it's going to go back to what type of arrows you're shooting. If you're looking at spine from a Carbon Express, it's going to be different than your spine from an Easton or a Gold Tip, just because they go backward, opposite of one another, number system-wise. But you know, something like that, I always err on the side of being a little too stiff than being a little too weak when you're talking about an arrow that's that long. So if we're saying at a 31-inch draw, he's going to be shooting a 30 to 31-inch arrow shaft, then you know, on an Easton, say a deep 6 injection, something like that, you'd probably go with a 280 spine. You know, there's things that come into play with that as well, as far as, are you shooting your bow on a comfort setting or a performance setting? We try to get to the meat of the arrow spine. So if you look at a spine chart, there's always that variance, right? Oh, you can shoot it from here to here. Well, somewhere in the middle is where it's perfect. So we try to get that arrow tuned to the bow, or at times tune the bow to the arrow. So just depends on which way you want to go. But err on the side of being a little too stiff if you need to. But I would say, you know, a 280, if you're looking at regular FMJs, a 300, or an Axis, a 300. The Gold Tip stuff, certainly, same thing, probably a 300 spine. If you're going a heavy enough tip weight over the 100, then you might even look at like a 250 on the Gold Tip.
Sense. So, and it really varies by arrow, because each
it does.
in betweens.
You betcha. You betcha. But
I love it.
Always remember, you know, not all 70-pound bows are built equally. So how one 70-pound bow pushes an arrow compared to another. And that's not something you're going to find on every spine chart. Matter of fact, most spine charts may not have that in it at all.
They're just giving you a general recommendation. Generally. So.
One thing cool you can do is, if you go to where you're testing that type of stuff, take a 100 and take a 125 grain field tip, shoot them at distance, and see if you got one that's tuning a little bit better than the other. If you want to go with 100s, but the 125 shooting better, then you're seeing that you need to break that spine down a little bit more. So there's some things you can do with that to get her going.
Well, we sent out our text earlier to let everybody know we're going to have you in here doing the tech talk, and Michael Woods actually texted back to it with his question. So I'm actually going to have to clean up this question a little bit, but Mike wants to know, what do you do with an arrow stuck in his backside? We'll say that. We'll say his backside. So we're going to stump you. What should Michael Woods do with an arrow stuck in his backside? I was going to bring a horn in here and bleep it out, but you know, I don't know. He's got a lot of problems.
There's some issues there that the Bowtech tech guys might not be the best to answer.
Yeah, I don't think you're qualified for that.
Might want to go to the ER and
might want to get that checked. We had to ask that. Our director of digital strategy actually received that text, and he was outside my office here just busting up laughing. He's like, you got to ask him this one.
Yeah, so, you got to. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Here's a good question. What would be your suggestion for an older shooter with arthritis that shoots fingers for a release?
Oh boy, he's shooting. Okay, so he's been shooting fingers.
Well, it sounds like he may have just converted to us. I assume he's a finger shooter and is getting arthritis. So
gotcha.
Getting older like yourself and myself.
Sure, that's
right. I remember when you started, your beard was pretty solid red.
Wasn't quite as gray.
That's true. Yeah. And I had hair when I started. So.
Yeah, and I did. I got the hat on, but yeah, it's covering up the same thing. So if it's something that someone's wanting to stay with a handheld, if he's coming off of shooting fingers and he's wanting to stay with a handheld, there's a lot of different great releases out there. A lot of guys are, to simplify it, might go with a thumb.
Right. Well, I think he's asking, what bow would you recommend if he's a finger shooter?
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, you're definitely going to have to look for something longer ATA. So, you know, if you're looking at a BT Mag, BT Mag X, depending on the draw length, and of course you have your Fanatic. So those longer ATA bows are going to perform better. You're going to get less finger pinch. Whether you're, you know, if you're shooting a split finger deal, then certainly that axle to axle comes into play. So I would definitely stick to something that's a longer axle to axle length, just to avoid the finger pinch.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And you know, bows are becoming more limited for the finger shooters, but there's still any of that stuff that's that 36-inch plus. We still see a lot of finger shooters shooting those.
And they're not super aggressive draw. My recommendation too there is, if you are on the longer end of the draw length, so you know, we have the Mag and we have the Mag X, and the same thing with the Fanatic. We have the Fanatic XL and the SD. One thing you can do is, let's say you're on the SD or the standard mag and you're on the longer end of the draw length, there's a little overlap. So you could go to the next larger cam, and if you're on the bottom end, it gives you a little softer draw.
It does. Yeah, it's going to smooth it up quite a bit.
So
yeah,
that's definitely an option as well.
Yeah.
So
you bet.
Great question. I love it. So here, let's talk about the Fanatic. What is the difference between the? I'm going to test your memory here. What's the difference between the Fanatic 2 and the Fanatic 3?
So the biggest difference between the two is going to be the flat back grip. So on the Fanatic 3.0, you have flatter area on the grip that's going to actually run higher through the hand. So if you're putting down an even amount of heel pressure, you're going to feel the flatness running all the way through the hand, top to bottom. Where on the 2.0, you might catch some of the flatness of that grip, but it's going to be just at the very bottom. So a lot of guys, as we know, as you can see on the Realm X, stuff like that, we're going to more of a torque-free grip, something very repeatable. But you know, both those bows are awesome.
And that's one thing we did with those, you know, the Fanatic 3 is, and I'm actually still shooting a Fanatic 2 just because I haven't set up a 3 yet. We took feedback from our pro shooters, and that's how we built the Fanatic 3. The 10% stiffer riser, the flat back grip, the double sight holes, things of that nature. The thicker bottom bracket for V-bars, because everybody wants to mount their V-bars lower, so they want a little more stability down there. So it's feedback from shooters like yourself, not just the pros, but amateurs. Telling us what you want to see. So those, I mean, those are some great questions. I've got a lot coming in here on Facebook, so those were actually texted into us. So let's see. Looks like Dan Howard's in here asking questions too. William Hepley. So you asked where's the dog. So I apologize, you might get in there late. So dog is sick. Thanks, Dan Howard. He answered for him. He's sick. Yeah, I think Rod's out. He's either one sick, and I think he is sick today, or he's chasing turkeys. So
yeah, you never know.
But he did shoot a turkey, and I should have grabbed the image. I don't know if you've heard this or not. So Rod's always talking about his Destroyer 350, and so he went hunting. About a week ago, I think, wasn't it a week ago, Nolan? I think it was about a week ago, and went turkey hunting, and he had a shot at a turkey and took its head clean off with his bow. One shot, clean off. So I had planned on getting a photo here and putting it up for Rod, but I should have done it anyhow. So Dan Howard, what kind of broadheads do you use for turkeys, he's asking?
For turkeys, so I actually just this year switched over to the Dirt Nap Shred Head. It's a new thing that Dirt Nap came out with. It's designed to slow your broadhead down to be able to catch.
That's a fairly new one you have.
It is brand new. So I'm giving that a try this year. You know, in the past, just anything that has had a larger cutting diameter in areas where you can use expandables, and we can use expandables on turkeys out here. And expandable is always good, getting that larger cutting diameter.
Use expandables on out here.
Right. On you know, as everyone knows, the vitals on a turkey are very small. So trying to get something that can reach out there and reach them if you're getting a good shot is good to go with.
Absolutely. Dan Howard's always has great questions in here too. So you just asked that one. So Dan's also asking, does yoke tuning affect the draw length and poundage?
So depending on how much you were to twist up or down your cables or your yokes, one side or the other, you could. I guess the answer is yes, but it's going to be very, very minimal. So if you were to yoke something up extreme and you're shortening your cables, basically by doing that, you are going to gain a little bit in poundage, and vice versa. If you're taking twists out of the yoke, you're going to lose a little bit. But you're talking. The amount of yoke tuning that would be doing would be pretty drastic to see anything too substantial. Yes, it does, but in the greater sense, it's not changing it enough to really.
And I think that's one thing Rod mentions, and I think last week we talked a little bit about in the yoke tuning is when you're yoke tuning our bows, make sure you don't just twist up one side. He always recommends putting a twist in one side, taking a twist out of the other. You're changing your cam lane. You're just not, you're not affecting your draw weight.
Exactly.
So I think today is actually broadhead question day. So this is on Instagram. Courtney Bow Huntress is asking, if I shoot 40 to 50 pounds, should I use a fixed blade broadhead?
So that's a good question. You know, a turkey. Are we talking turkey or are we talking big game?
Didn't say. I would say let's talk about either or.
If you're talking big game, I would probably prefer to go with the fixed blade. It takes a little less energy. Obviously, there's nothing that has to be open. So a good cut-on contact fixed blade for penetration on, say, a deer or an elk would be pretty good. If you're talking turkeys are so thin-skinned, you're getting through feathers, but at the same time, one of the biggest issues we have with turkeys is we get through them too fast.
Right.
And the arrows just blows right through, and sometimes the turkey don't know what hit them.
That's a good point. I mean, that's kind of, in the lady, but even all of us want to see, I'm sure women want to see that arrow, pass clean through.
Sure.
Better blood trail, but it's not the case in the turkey. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the turkey, the turkey, it's funny because they're again, the vitals are so small. You can get in one side and out the other side of a turkey, and that turkey at times, I've seen turkeys just go back to feeding. They might run off a little bit, and they literally have no clue what just happened.
Well, I had that happen to me last year in Oklahoma.
Right.
The first turkey I shot went clean through, and it just fed across the field.
Right.
It died, but
kind of the idea, and I'll go back to that shred head a little bit, is the whole idea of that is getting a hard impact on that bird, more of a broadhead that's going to want to roll that bird and create a lot of almost a blunt force trauma with the blades cutting as well. That's kind of the idea behind it, and I've seen some good stuff on that, so we're going to give it a try and see what happens.
That's good.
But it's a good question because I think
great question.
I think being knowledgeable on that side, especially from the big game to the turkey side, is all good to have.
And there's a good point that Jeremiah brings up there too as well, but I'm going to do a little shout out to one of our celebrity ambassadors, Heartland Bowhunter, Mike Hunsaker and Sean Luchtel. They have, and actually just on there, I recommend go to their Facebook page because they did a pretty cool post not too long ago. I think it's on Instagram as well, where one of their guys kind of did a layer by layer image of a turkey. And kind of the rib cage, then the lung and the liver, and that layering really shows. We talk about a margin of error on a turkey, but it really gives you a sense of what you have to blow through. Mike actually made a comment on there. That's why he likes shooting turkeys from behind, because you don't have that little armor plate. I mean, it's a turkey, not as much as a hog armor plating, but behind it's easier to make that entry in there. But everybody, not to say a side shot isn't, a broadside shot, but I mean it's pretty neat. So go to Heartland Bowhunter's Instagram, and I think they did it on their Facebook as well. Check that image out because it's pretty neat. It goes from feathers all the way down to just seeing the heart.
Nice,
it's kind of neat. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool event, or a pretty cool post. Ooh, man, a lot of preference questions in here. Randy Manson is asking, which carbon arrows do you prefer to use, small diameter or large diameter, and why?
That's a good question. So I've literally shot a 6mm standard gold tip shaft for years. This year is the first year I'm playing around with some 4mm shafts. I think the whole idea that I'm looking for with that 4mm shaft is there's a lot less static friction on the shaft. So when you're talking about penetration, I don't think anybody would argue that penetrating wise that 4mm shaft is better. Now, that being said, I've had 6mm shafts in the past and have pass through after pass through on animals. So at what speed or at how much better do I need to pass through an animal? I don't know.
It's about kinetic energy.
I don't think they really care if they got 2 holes in them. I don't think they mind. But I think it's fun. Arrows right now seems to be probably one of the most opinionated things out there. People use this arrow or they use that arrow, and they're very opinionated as to why. I've seen far too good success with all different types of arrows. More than 6mm, 5mm, 4mm. It comes down to make sure whatever you're selecting is just spined properly and is set up for that bow. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a successful time.
And I shoot, right now I'm shooting, I'm going to give a shout out to Gold Tip. I'm running the Pierce Platinum. I shoot my Pierce Platinums for my target bow as well. But I set up, I have a whole batch I'm set up for my hunting rig. And last year during elk season, I shot a spike, but 60 pounds, and it was just slightly quartered away, and it didn't pass through. But the only reason it didn't pass through is because it hit the shoulder on the other side. maybe a 70-pound bow would have passed through. I doubt it,
right?
Because it buried pretty good in the. But it, it's a small diameter arrow.
Right.
It had plenty of penetration. Two lung. I caught lung, heart, the lung on the other side, and it stopped in the shoulder.
Yep.
That's game over.
And there's definitely some things too that I mean, you look at those 4mm shafts. The wall thickness is generally heavier. So there's some meat to those things, and they're getting some traction with that 4mm stuff. Whether it's the platinum pierces or Easton has their carbon injection, and then of course the deep 6 injection, which is the aluminum carbon. So all of which will go through an animal just fine.
And that's what. I mean, there's so many good arrows out there. It's hard to say. I mean, I've been a gold tip fan forever. I used to shoot Carbon Express back in the day, so I think every company out there makes a good arrow. It's just kind of your personal preference. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so that's why I say that. I mean, like I said, I shot gold tips, and not to say if I wouldn't go buy a set of Carbon Expresses, I wouldn't shoot a set of Carbon Expresses. I'm just going to find an arrow works the best for me. Generally, I like running the same setup. If I'm running a target arrow, it's gold tip.
Right. And that's one aspect you mentioned. Target. One aspect that I wasn't thinking with the 4mm, I was thinking hunting, but a lot of that smaller diameter stuff, we've seen it in the past with ACEs and ACCs, stuff like that. For field, a lot of your field guys like that stuff because there's less wind. Exactly stuff like that. So and that plays into the hunting side of it as well. So
about the only target event I get out to is Reading, which I wasn't able to go this year, and that's a perfect arrow for that event. I mean, you're running 101 yards is the longest distance. There's been years it's been a lot of crosswind, a lot of rain, and
there's been years or every year?
No, it's supposed to be hot this year. So if you guys are down there and watching this, throw us a little message. I think it's supposed to be 90 and pretty fair weather. Last year we had a mix. Warm, rain, which makes it really bad because you get humidity.
That's right.
As well,
yeah.
Too, so let's see if we have any more here coming across on. Man, wow! Here's just a good question for you. So there's. Your username is HDVDHSYS7. It's a good name. It's hard to read, but a good name. So this is subjective. What is the best bow to use? I'm going to say Bowtech.
I will definitely say Bowtech. I'll go one step further and say, I mean, I'm shooting the Realm X right now. And I have absolutely never had a bow hold at full draw the way that Realm X holds. When you look back, you look at the Rain 6 and 7 last year. I mean, on the shot, those things are just buttery smooth. They're as smooth as anything else. But the Realm, when I put that in my hand, one, I love the grip area. Grip area is always subjective, but I love the grip area. And at full draw, the way that bow held and pointed and just aimed was unlike any other bow that I've had. That's including any of the quote-unquote target bows that we have.
I agree.
So that platform, I absolutely am loving that platform. And the 6.5-inch brace at 345 IBO. I mean, that's smoking and forgiveness at the same time. So I'm running that, and I would with the success I see with it in the shop, we're selling boatloads of them in the shop. And so I would stake my claim on that one.
Well, that's, Realm X, I'm shooting the Realm, and just because at the time the Realm was the first bow out, so that's when I started shooting here in marketing. But Realm X, you bring that up with target, kind of a target bow. Levi Pearson is our staff coordinator. He's out of office right now. I'm actually kind of helping him out, covering for him. But the target shooters out of the gate, when they went to order their bows and everything else, I started getting their orders in, and it's Realm X, Realm X, Realm X. I'm like, you guys are target shooters. Why are you ordering a hunting bow? 80% of those shooters are shooting the Realm X just because it holds like a longer axle-to-axle bow. They're getting great speeds out of it. It's just a flat-out shooter. Forgiving, and it's which was surprising to me. I shouldn't say the bow wasn't surprising to me, but out of the gate, and a lot of these shooters hadn't shot the bow yet. Maybe in their shop, but. I mean, it was surprising, and they're glad they did. I see a lot of our contingency winners shooting the Realm X. On the podium. It's awesome. Man, we got a lot of good arrow setup questions. Wow. Corbin's Archery. Oh, no, he's answering questions. Somebody asked if they made a 34-inch arrow. It looks like he answered that. No one makes a 34-inch arrow that he can find. So So G Zinzer 7 is asking, actually somebody else had asked this as well, and I can answer this. I'm sorry if this has been asked already. When are the grips coming out for the reins? Well, you probably mean the Realm. So the Realm, we're probably looking the first of the year. So the Reign has the conventional side plates. So with the Reign, there are a lot of aftermarket companies out there that make grips for those bows. But I'm making an assumption you meant the Realm. So probably looking first year, maybe ATA Showtime on there. Oh, he did. There you go, Ginzer. You did correct yourself. Yep, there you go. Sorry about that. I should have read a couple more down because they didn't correct themselves on that. So great question there. So, well, oh, what arrows? Somebody, Corbin's Archery is asking some great, answering some great questions for us. So on there on arrows. So looks like AK. This is a statement. AK Turnbull 1. Alaska, I'm assuming that's what that means. I just missed a gobbler with my carbon icon, but it's not the bow's fault. So, man, at least you're seeing birds. I'm striking out. So
there you go.
That's awesome. Let's see what else we got. Man, we got some great stuff. William Hepley asked the same question about the grips. So, again, you're probably looking the first of the year. I'm going to take a look, see what kind of questions we have. Man, we're getting questions ever. I'm going to reload over here and see what we get while we're looking at Instagram. So Jeremiah, I mean, you basically working in the shop and working alongside of Josh and Mike there too. What types of things do you see coming in now in the spring, going into these seasons that can be avoided? We talked preventive maintenance with Dog a little bit.
Sure.
He's more on the, I mean, everyday consumer side. You're seeing in the retail store. He's getting more from dealers. What do you see coming in that generally can be avoided?
So, you know, the biggest thing I see, and I'll use it as a positive, is we've actually been seeing some guys, unlike previous years, that are actually coming in and getting strings and cables on their bow right now that may be needing to be replaced.
Right.
And that's good because we want to have those strings and cables on the bow. We want to have those strings and cables shot in. We want to have everything ready to go. In years past, and it'll happen this year too, we always have guys come in a week, 2 weeks before season, get a new string and cable, and it's good to see that stuff have been shot in, have everything, you know, your sight, your rest, all that stuff dialed in, ready to go, long before the season, and have that confidence that you want to have in your equipment before you get out in the field. You know, other things that we see is, it never fails, is people will be putting their bows away in the fall. They put them in a case. If it was, you know, raining out, stuff like that, we call it here, we call it the Oregon Loctite, right? And it's just, you know, your
funny
mod,
what Rod said the exact same thing last week when we were talking about it.
Mod screws will be seized on the modules. They'll come in for an adjustment, and it's hard to adjust things. And so taking care of your equipment, if you're a seasonal shooter, before you put it away, is certainly a must, and something that unfortunately we do see that kind of stuff happening. But more than anything, when it comes to getting your stuff going now is what I would prefer to see people do. Everybody waits till, I won't say everybody, most people wait till the last minute.
I would say 80%.
I've been guilty of doing the same thing, but get in early and have that, more than anything, it's having that confidence in your stuff that you've been shooting, you know, a new good quality string and cable, but you've got, you know, 500-600 shots on it, you know, going into the season, opposed to, well, I got 40-50 shots on it sighting it in, and now I'm going to go out and go hunting, you know. So just being aware of those types of things and making sure that you're proactive instead of having to react either right before season or even worse during the season.
Proactivity is great. So Corbin's Archery actually, you know, I apologize, Corbin's Archery, you actually sent me a correction. So he's actually asking the question. They have a BT mag here at 34-inch draw. What arrows?
Oh, so they got a mag X.
They got a big
X.
bow,
so, what poundage were we at?
It didn't say. So Corbin's, if you could let us know, I'm scrolling here. I want to make sure.
So if we're talking, you know, just talking arrow length in general, a lot of those arrows are, you know, 32 and 33 shaft lengths, from the factory. So, you know, the nice thing is draw length, a lot of people don't always understand. I'm sure these guys do, but understand how draw length is measured. So it's actually, if you're shooting an arrow the same length as your draw, then that's actually going to put that arrow typically 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch out in front of the riser. So you could shoot a 33, 32.5, 33 inch arrow.
Pretty much full length shaft.
Pretty much a full length shaft still. And that might bring you right to the shelf, or maybe even just inside, but you can still get away with that. And so, obviously, depending on shooting style, stuff like that, I never recommend having it drawn way inside, especially once you go with broadheads.
Like the old days, if you got the overdraw on the shelf.
You got a shooter that gets his hand way up there, kind of low wrist, and you don't want to do something like that. But you can still definitely on a 34-inch draw length get away with a 33, no problem. That's going to be probably at the shelf or just inside.
Well, that's good. You know these guys, Myers Leonard and Chris Kamen from the Trailblazers. They shoot Bowtech bows, and shooting actually they're shooting prototype, the original prototype Mag X's. But we had to do that for them. I think you guys had to fletch up and set up full length shafts basically for those guys. And
last time Chris was in here, we literally took and I went and got him some shooter arrows because our other shooter arrows were a little short, and we did exactly that. I pretty much put inserts in them and said, okay, well, now we can shoot.
He's a big guy, so I think Chris is 7'7" even. I apologize, Chris, if you're watching. I think Myers is 7'3". So they're all of that full length, that full draw length. So they are shooting the bows. And actually, Chris is, I set him up with a Carbon Icon, which he's a big boy for that, but we fudged the draw length a little bit, long D-looped it a little bit because he wanted something a little lighter to pack around. He's a he Western guy out here. He's from Illinois, but he has the Western. He comes out here property and out here in Mitchell, and he loves elk, and he wanted something that he could pack around there as well. So, so somebody's asking actually a couple questions in here. Bill Hepley is asking, is that Bill? Oh yeah, what tool do you recommend for laser alignment?
We use the Spot Hog lasers. So that's actually the only laser aligning tool that I've actually ever had to use, and it works fantastic. And so just never had any issues.
So, there's a lot of other lasers out in the market. I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but they have some that mount to the sight mounting holes, and you spin it. They're okay, but the only thing you run into there is it's susceptible to the machining tolerances of when it pivots and things of that nature. Where that Spot Hog Easy Laser, it's all machined aluminum. You lay it on the cam, it's the same spot no matter what you do, so it's consistent. Plus, they're local boys. So
that's right.
They're just up there.
And it's just good quality. It's just good quality.
It is. I mean, if you're familiar with all Spot Hog's laser, sights and everything else, the quality of their stuff. So they're going to do. They're going to put the same quality into their tools as well.
Absolutely.
So. That kid y'all hate's name is, do those bows pack a big punch? I like the names.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into packing a big punch, but the bows absolutely do. So.
Typically when you think about bows like that, when you say do they pack a punch, I mean, it's kind of a. Generally, you think of a caveat there that they pack a big punch, but they draw like crap. And they do. Where the Realm, it's designed to do both.
That's right. That's right. And it's just I love I mean even on the performance setting, we talked about performance comfort a little bit earlier. Even on the performance setting, the thing still draws really nice.
It does.
But so if you want that little bit of an added punch, you can go on the performance setting on these, and if you want that silky smooth draw cycle, you can go back to the comfort. But even on comfort, by all means, they still pack a big punch.
They do.
So it's kind of cool because these bows, it really does seem like we're getting something for nothing because the draw cycles are still awesome.
It is.
And yet we're still getting the speeds and the energy out of them. So, so yes,
it's about the ultimate archery experience, and you're getting everything in the Realm. So I'm excited what we have down the road coming with what can we do next when we come out with the Realm, but our engineers amaze me year after year, so.
Me as well.
I always get these questions, and I'm going to nip it in the bud right now. Everybody asks me, I cannot tell you what we have coming. So,
I have those guys come to the shop every single day. There all the time. I bug them all the time, and they're a vault.
So Jeremiah's R&D is basically right by the shop, and we're always sneaking in and out of that door going to R&D, and people trying to peek in there and see what's going on. But
yes, exactly.
So. Well, brother, I appreciate you being here. I know,
betcha.
You've got some guys out in the shop probably waiting on you. They stand in line for Jeremiah too. So I really appreciate everybody coming and watching us on Bowtech Live again.
Sounds good.
I love having Jeremiah here. Dog's out sick, so best wishes to Dog. Hopefully you feel better. Come in next week.
Dog it feel better or shoot another turkey, whichever one you're really doing.
I'm sure you're
see.
sick.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think we need to get you both in here one week.
That'd be cool.
I think it should be fun. I think you guys should just run the show. I'll step out. You guys run the show.
There we go. I'm sure we can put Dog it in your seat.
We might have to get Nolan put a referee shirt on there. I see somebody getting choked out during this event.
Dog, it's a big dude.
He is. You got
to watch out for him.
Yeah, he's got. We talked about some of his stories early on in some of the events about his getting in a little trouble, being a little rowdy back in the day. So. But make sure you guys, again, we talked about all of our Bowtech Live stuff going this week with all the hunts. Make sure you text that turkey to 77453. Get in there, and also get in there to win that bow. I mean, we're going to give away a bow of your choice. How easy can it be?
Heck yeah.
It's a poll. Get in there, take the poll, and answer some questions. It's some super easy stuff. So this week, make sure you're texting turkey to 77453. You'll get that notification on your phone when we go live. You'll probably get to see Chef kill another bird and cook it up, field dress it, cook it up, and
that was cool to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I learned a lot by watching him. He's a chef, and so he does stuff. I mean, he did not waste a piece of that meat on that when he was dressing that bird.
That's a fact.
So get in there, watch it. Again, turkey 77453 for Bowtech Live. Todd Snyder and
Jeremiah Winstead.
We're out.